Hi, I'm Malcolm.
And I'm Rachel. We're two Canadians living on our 39-foot mainship trawler, living an adventure of a lifetime. We invite you to follow along as we travel 6,000 miles through Canadian and U.S. waterways around America's Great Loop. Malcolm found a whole bunch of coconuts and we're squishing them on our seat so we can take them back to the boat.
Coconut milk for days. So one thing we have been doing here in the Bahamas is finding coconuts. So this is a perfect coconut. It's brown, which is the one you want, not a green one, which I've got, but this brown one actually has the nut inside it. So this is the husk. We cut it, so there's where it's on the tree. We cut it in these strips and then we dehusk it. And then what you get is that, which is what you're used to seeing in the grocery store, which is a coconut. And if you shake it, so I can hear that, you've actually got milk inside that coconut. So
water.
It's coconut milk. So basically in here is the meat and the milk. Then what you do, so now we've got a few of these in various states. Then what you do is you actually break it open. I can show you how to do that. And it's actually quite easy. You just take your hammer, conveniently, and there's seams on the coconut. There's typically 3 of them, which you can see. And all you do, I'm not going to do it now, but you just go around and you tap the hammer multiple times on those seams and you rotate it as you do it. And what you're going to find is the coconut will change pitch when you hit it. It'll come dull, and then it'll crack. And when it cracks, you can drain it out, and then you pull out all the meat. And once you've pulled out the meat, I'll show you what you do next. This takes a little while. It's not a fast process by any stretch. And you have to be very careful not to cut yourself. So always put the knife away. And if the knife is away, if it slips, it will slip safe. This is a fishing knife or a diving knife I'm using. And it's got a very sharp blade, but also somewhat of a saw on the top edge. So you can see there's a saw on the top edge, and then here, and then this is blunt, so you can push through. But you keep doing this until you get enough of the husk broken up that you can actually pull one out. You can see that it goes through and then it stops. So if I push, that's as far as it goes, because I'm actually hitting the cocoa nut, I guess, or the nut that's within it. And then as I miss it, you'll watch the knife goes right in. I'll do it again. That's it. And if you shake these coconuts, you can absolutely hear the milk inside. It's a very full coconut. Like I said, it takes time and patience. And they're tough, so you can't force them. We just go around and pull them all up. Okay, now let's see. There'll be more cutting, but we should be able to get some of this up. And on a somewhat unrelated note, for those of you that have boats with composting toilets, that's coconut husk, which you actually use in your composting toilet. We do not have that. Yeah, we'd like to have a composting head, but it's if you have one that works, it's a little expensive and inconvenient. So there you can see there's half or a third of the coconut pulled out, and you just basically go around now, and it sometimes gets easier as you do this. You just keep pulling those husks off. They're completely biodegradable, so there's no harm in pushing those back in the ocean. They will just float away. Okay, so what we have here is, this is the husk of one, so that's one whole brown. You need, from what I understand, you need brown coconuts for this kind of stuff, because they have the mature flesh in them. I just use a knife, just a regular little dive knife, nothing fancy. It just takes a few minutes to actually split it so you can get it. The coconut, that's what these are. They have 3 distinct holes in the top, and I'm not a biologist or a botanist, but from what I understand, that's where they actually sprout from. So when they start growing, you'll see little sprouts coming out of here. The other thing you may ask or wonder is, how in the world do you get the stuff out? Well, there's a couple of ways to do it. If you just want the milk, you can drill it and then just stick a straw in it. The other way to do it is on each of these coconuts, every one I've seen, there's always lines. You can see one really, really clearly right there, like a seam. And that line, and there's 3 of them usually, there's another one, and there's another one. So those seams, you could take a hammer, and near the top, you just hit it, and you turn it, and you hit it, and you turn it, and you hit it. And what happens is, after about, I don't know, 6 hits, you'll hear the sound change, and the coconut will crack pretty much around that center, or that top bit. You got to be careful, because then as soon as it cracks enough, it'll start dripping the milk out, so you want to catch the milk. As soon as the milk's drained, you finish the crack, you can just take the top off, and then you can have all the flesh inside. And you can either eat it, or you can, what we do, or what I have done in the past, is I've made coconut milk and cream and coconut flour. And one coconut will do 1 mason jar full of coconut milk and cream. So that's pretty much, actually 1 and a bit. And then the flour, it makes a fair amount of flour, but you need a good blender to actually do the flour. So anyway, I know that's not doing the loop, but it's doing a couple of coconuts. So there is one I just opened, and you can see the holes. And here is one that I prepared earlier. So here's a coconut I found yesterday, day before, and I split it. It's a little smaller than the one you got here, but there's the flesh inside. And inside that was this really sweet coconut milk. It was really nice to drink. So what you do, to be very specific, is you break it open, you drain it, you take the flesh out, you cook the flesh in a bit of water for about half an hour, and then once it's cooked, you then blend it so it's all chopped up, and then you strain it. And if you have a cheesecloth or some sort of straining bag, you can use, and that will get the separation between the milk, cream, and the flour that you can use later. So that's hopefully what these will end up being used for.
Oh, there you go. Learn more, it says.
Oh, look at that.
Lots of them, but these 2 were really full of water.
You can hear it when they shake, right?
Oh, yeah.
That could be a handy survival trick. Yeah. And there use your coconut.
Yes, that looked perfect.
Yeah. So this one wants to be a little tougher. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Oh, there's a big crack. Whoa!
Oh, nuts! I should have got that.
You filled up your bowl.
Beautiful.
Here we are. That's a really nice one.
It is.
So the next step is what I did on this coconut that you're about to see. I actually froze it, and you don't have to do that, but apparently it helps the meat come off that outer shell. So anyway, we froze it. Then we hit it with the hammer. Then we took out all the meat, which we've got right here, and that meat needed to be peeled. So you just take a peeler and you peel the outside of it because it's just got that little brown sort of skin on it. Once it's peeled, you cut it up, you cover it with water, and then you cook it. And I cook it for half an hour to an hour. Once it's cooked, and it'll just let it steam away. Once it's cooked, and I threw the coconut milk in there too, by the way. Once it's cooked or boiled, then, and I won't do it right now, then you use your handy dandy food processor or blender, whichever you have, and you put it in here and you blend it all up. Once it's blended, you dump it into a bowl, and then you use this dishcloth or whatever you got to strain it. As soon as it's strained, you will have coconut milk and coconut cream. And then you can use that in any recipe that you have, including Rachel's world famous scones. So there's from the coconut that comes off the tree, the brown one, dehusking it, taking and cracking it, draining it, cooking it, and then turning it into coconut milk and coconut cream. Who knew we'd be doing culinary stuff on the loop in Bahamas? This is the last stage of when we make the coconut milk. So it's all shredded. It's all put into a cloth and over a bowl. And now all you do is use the muscle power and you just squeeze it. And you really just squeeze the coconut milk and cream out of the coconut meat. And that's the end product. And you can just use it. And we were just talking, maybe we'll use some of this meat to coat some coconut shrimp because we have a few shrimp. So anyway, here we go. So this, although it's a little muscle intensive, and you're touching the milk, as long as your hands are clean, you can actually see the coconut fat and the milk swirling on the top. Super clean. You pour that in a jar, and we can show you the jars later. And the jars, actually, the fat will separate. So you'll start seeing that fat if you want to use it for cooking, and you can use the milk if you want to use it in sauces. So really, it's a cheap. This was free, which is what all boaters like. Just a little bit of labor, and who doesn't do work and labor for free on a boat? And now you can enjoy it when you're having your coconut shrimp. So that is one coconut. Sometimes there's more. Sometimes you can actually get a whole jar. Just depends on the coconut itself. But this will separate, so you're going to start to see when we put it in the fridge that you'll have about that much of coconut fat in there as well, or cream, not fat. And then you can use it for whatever you need to. The other great thing, by the way, is not only do you have this, which you can use and keep in the fridge, but you keep those coconuts I showed you earlier and just leave them on the boat. They don't need to be refrigerated, put in storage or anything. You can just leave them outside. So we have coconut milk anytime we need to because we've got extra coconuts just in storage. So that's stay cool coconut milk.